just wait for the wheel to stop spinning, and there we go. So Khutulun. I am butchering that name, by the way. That is not what her mommy called her. There's a lot of things going around on how to try to pronounce Khutulun, Khutulun, and some things that I can't even imagine getting out of my mouth. So I do apologize. But as a European, it's hard, like, for us with not speaking Mongolian. It is an interesting picture. It's her pinning a guy down. And we're going to see that's going to be a theme for Khutulun. Oh, she's so cool. She's the coolest. I love her. All right. So a little background. This isn't too key on here, so you probably don't have to write this stuff down. But Khutulun is Genghis Khan's great-great-granddaughter, which we know he had a ton of kids and a ton of grandkids, a ton of great-grandkids. So that might not be notable in itself. But her great-uncle is going to be Kublai Khan. Her father was Kaidu, which is... going to be the nephew of Kublai Khan. And basically, this is going to be a war of cultures here. Because Kaidu, Khutulun's father, is going to say, you know, the Mongols, we are nomads. We ride horses. We shoot our arrows. We live off of the land. You know, and he was the ruler of the Chagatai Khanate, which is in the gray over here. And he's fighting a war over this culture with Kublai Khan, who's the Yuan Dynasty emperor, which is the green right there. So he's got way more land. Because Kublai, he wanted to settle down. He was trying to make the Mongols more like the Chinese. And yeah, this war is going to be over 30 years. I tried to find a picture of Kaidu. The closest thing I could find was the sign for his house, which he's a descendant of Ogadai. So this would be the mark of Ogadai. That's the closest I can get, sorry. But now, let's get to the main event, to Khutulun. So, as soon as she could learn how to walk and hold things, just like every other Mongol, her brothers, she was put on a horse and given a bow. So, she is going to be brought up just like her brothers. She's going to have 14 of them. Now, all of them are going to be warriors. All of them. Yeah, I know that's a lot of kids, right? But here's the thing. Her father, Kaidu, had her his most trusted general. That's right. So she was a commander over Mongolian soldiers. She would lead them to battle. She would give orders. And she was the advisor for this. I think she's actually kind of the inspiration for the Mulan story because she's so awesome and also real. Whereas I don't think Mulan was real. And she was amazing. But here's the thing, too. So we read, actually, I'll get to that in a second. And here's something crazy, too. She was declared by Kaidu the greatest Mongol warrior. Now, think about it. They're all warriors here, and she, a girl, was declared the greatest of the warriors. And one of the things that she did, so we talked about this, and I think it was document 4, when Caprini is talking about the military tactics of the Mongols and how, you know, the commanders, they said, would be off in a distance, and near the commanders would be the women, the children, and like scarecrows on horses to make it look like the army's real big. So they're in a safe spot. And what she would do is and there's going to be a quote about this in a second, would just ride her horse off, go into the battle, and capture someone and bring the captured person back to her father so that they can interrogate it. And here's the thing. Like, you know, when you're going and doing battle, it is way easier for Zion to slice and dice someone or to shoot someone with an arrow than to, like, whack them over the head, throw them on her horse, and go back. That's so much more dangerous. And Khutulun did this all the time. It's so cool. So here's the quote. Sometimes she would quit her father's side and make a dash at the host of the enemy and seize some man thereout as deftly as a hawk pounces on a bird and carry him to her father. And this she did many a time. So cool. Just imagine, like, you're in the thick of the battle and all of a sudden, like, who's that? Well, bam, like, throw over the hook. Like, just crazy. But that's not even why she's famous. Like, that's just something that she did, you know, for funsies, right? So Khutulun, she was known as the woman of 10,000 horses. And you might be thinking, all right, how does Khutulun get 10,000? Now, by the way, 10,000 is probably not the exact number of horses. 10,000 is kind of like one of those literary things with here where it's of an unimaginable number, basically. That's like saying like a million, cotillion, billion. Like just going and it's, she might have had more, she might have had less. We don't know, but it's just saying she's got a lot of horses. And you might be thinking, well, okay, horses, what's the big deal? Horses were the primary way the Mongols demonstrated wealth and power. Just think about it. Those are horses you could put soldiers on and then fight for you. So she's incredibly wealthy and powerful having this. Now, you might say, how does she get these 10,000 horses? No? Well, she did it through wrestling. Just like, so the picture, Nora was like, oh, that's an interesting picture. And she had that guy pinned down, like I say. So, yeah, I like her style too. She's pretty cool. Here was the deal. She was supposedly very beautiful. And everyone wanted to marry her. I mean, she's the great Khan's daughter. So you marry her, you get in with the great Khan. Maybe you could become the next great Khan, right? So here was the deal. If you beat her in wrestling, she would marry you. If you lost, you had to pay 100 horses. And of course, like, you know, Hayden's like, I'm not going to get beaten by a puny girl. I'll take the bet. And then he loses. And then Jude's like, I'm not going to get beaten by a girl. I'm going to go wrestle her. Loses. She doesn't lose. She is undefeated. No one can beat her in wrestling. Now, disclaimer, I'm not talking about like WWE wrestling, like going and jumping up on people and throwing them and all that. I'm talking about like real wrestling, like the Greek wrestling where you're like literally like down on the mat, like headlocking and trying to pin the shoulders. That's kind of stuff like that. Yeah, no one could beat her. So there even comes a time, and these are all artists' ideas of what she looked like. We don't fully know for certain. So that's why like the 3 pictures of her are all kind of, actually 4 pictures of her that I show are all different because these are ideas of what the artist would have. This has her going dressing more like a princess here. Her father one time said, please, this is a perfect match. This guy is the right guy for you. He's smart, he's strong, he's a great warrior. Please, just can you lose on purpose? And Khutulun says, no. And she never marries. Now, some people think that it might be because she loved someone else. Actually, one of the rulers, or soon-to-be rulers of the Ilkhanate, who they were technically cousins, and that he was matched with someone else. Because you think about this, back then, especially for the moment, marriages were arranged. Like Genghis Khan, he got married to Berta because his family said, you're going to marry this person, and then that's just how it was. So like ladies, you're typically not going to have agency in who you choose to marry for the most part. But Khutulun, she did. She's like, I'm not going to marry some guy that I don't want to marry. And she chose never to get married. We don't know why. Some say it could be a love that she couldn't get, or some people said she just wasn't interested. But Kaidu thought so much of his daughter that he wanted to make her the next Khan. Unfortunately, like having 14 brothers, like they're like, there's no way we're letting our sister boss us around. And so there's a lot of like political intrigue and battling. And after Kaidu died, she's going to die five years later. Some theory is that she was gone and murdered. Hey there, Lydia. Because she was trying to take the power. One story, which I don't believe, was like she was so heartbroken over not getting to marry this guy that she went and committed suicide. And that's not as well sourced. And it's like, it doesn't fit her character and the story. So I'm like, yeah, that's someone just being like lame-o and trying to make an excuse for this awesome person. So I tend to believe more towards she was murdered because she was, you know, trying to be the next Khan, kind of like her father wanted her to be because she was so awesome. Another theory too, and this is also very plausible, like she was a warrior. She probably had injuries. Medicine wasn't very good. People didn't live very long back then. So she might have just died, which is very common. I mean, that's what happened to Genghis Khan. That's what happened to so many, you know, people. Like they died. We never talked about Genghis Khan's death. We don't know where he was buried because after he died, he had like they had like thousands of horses like trample over the spot to like make it completely hidden. And I can't believe I didn't talk about that story. Shucks. Anyways, that is our notes about Khutulun. I hope you enjoyed the quick little look at her. I just think she's such a cool historical figure, and I love sharing her with my students.